Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B., web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to the pod. This week, I'm so excited to have my friend Emily Aborn on the podcast. Emily is a content copywriter, speaker, and podcast host, and she's been an entrepreneur for over a decade, with experience running a brick-and-mortar and online businesses. She has collaborated with thousands of individuals over hundreds of industries as a copywriter, and she brings their personality, creativity, and message to life. Emily and I have collaborated on a bunch of projects recently. She and I just really mesh well. We both understand the need for bringing your personality out onto the screen in your online world. As well, she is super hyper organized, just like me, and we really have fun collaborating. So when I reached out to ask if she wanted to be on the podcast, of course, she came back with some really awesome topics. And I'm going to let the interview do the speaking, but I hope you enjoy and you get some really interesting takes on little known ways to increase your visibility and how it can all come back down to 3 C's and your website. Hello, Emily, and welcome to the Creatively Optimized podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Jenny. I'm so excited to be here. So that makes two of us.
Awesome. So I know I just shared with everyone kind of your bio and an intro, but do you want to start with telling me maybe a little bit about how you got to where you are and what you do now? And then we'll chat about today's topic.
Sure. I'll keep it very concise because it's a bit of a rambly road. But I think in a nutshell, I basically wanted to be a writer since I was a kid. And I would say that I've been kind of a quote unquote content creator since I was a kid. You know how, I'm sure you had cassette tapes. I had cassette tapes, and we would listen to a lot of stories on tape. And I always wanted to make my own stories on tape. So I would walk around with a tape recorder, recording different things. And, everything was a piece of everything was a piece of work. And I was also running businesses since I was a little just inventing little businesses since I was a kid. So I would say that these sort of threads have always been a part of me. Um I really didn't get to experience entrepreneurship until 2014. And then at that point, it was a retail shop, which I'll say this, it was not what I wanted to do with my life. And I think I just kind of jumped into it with no net. But it did teach me a whole lot about marketing and content creation and visibility and copywriting and all of the things that I use today in my business. So I wouldn't trade the experience for the world, though I wish I had come to the run to where I am sooner. So that's kind of that's everything in a nutshell, just to spare people the long journey.
I love it. I listened to your podcast, so I do know the story about the cassettes and how you've been doing this, and that's kind of like your jam, and you really are so good with it. You have such a way with words and content, and I love hearing your outlook. So I'm excited to have our conversation together. So when I reached out to you, I had originally thought that maybe we could chat about how it's so important to do web design in conjunction with writing copy for your website, how you do it hand in hand and how it creates such a beautiful partnership and a beautiful outcome. And I know we've worked together on a bunch of projects recently, which has been great. And you came back to me with some other ideas of how we could focus this conversation today using alliteration, like you do, talking about collaboration and cohesion and connection, and how we can increase our visibility in little known ways, how it all relates kind of back to your website, because that's such a core piece of the puzzle. So maybe we could start with collaboration and you could chat a little bit about that and we can talk.
I think the fun part about this is it's case in point of what a great collaboration can achieve together. So you and I get to collaborate a lot as web designer and copywriter. And that is also a collaboration with our client, right? So I like to think of collaboration as like a little math equation. So it's basically one plus one or one plus one plus one equals something way bigger than that other number. So we basically, as collaborators, get the opportunity to make a bit bigger impact together and also spread something further, wider, faster, right? Because now let's just use a website as a great example because I think it is such a good starting point. So we come together, we each bring our skills and strengths to the table. The client comes and brings their gifts and vision to the table. We all are like creating this magic together. When it comes time to share the website, now they're able to increase their reach because of all the fantastic work you've done, because of all the fantastic work I've done. When they go to post, oh, my website has just launched, we have now three of us, right? Sharing to our hundreds of people. So you can see how just even an example like that, even a podcast is another perfect example where we've come together. We're creating something that did not exist before. Like this conversation has never happened across time and space. And you and I are coming together, and it's going to double in awareness because I'm sharing it with my people, you're sharing it with your people, and the person on the other side gets to win too. So it's like a win 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 for all of us.
Yeah, I love that. It's like very meta, like you said. And to bring it back to the website, right? We're doing all these collaborations. You mentioned the first one. We're working together to build someone's website and to share that with the world. But then this collaboration, it's the podcast, and I'm sharing this podcast as a blog post on my website. Another form of collaboration is doing guest posts on someone's blog and getting your information out that way and putting it on their website. So I think all these collaborations are amazing, and your website is a great place to house that information and to be able to share it out. That's what you're sharing out with people, that link back to your website to talk about the collaboration and to keep it going on and on.
A guest blog was a great example. And like, a lot of our clients will use outbound links, right? So when they are part of an organization or when they have collaborated with somebody else, they'll have that link to the other person's website on theirs and vice versa, which is Google really likes that because we're basically showing the search engine algorithm or whatever. I'm not going to use proper English right now. We're basically showing it that we have the rapport, like we are a credible source. We're referring each other to one another. And so it kind of like boosts you up in the world of websites, as it were. So I love that as an example too of just like your website is a hotspot for collaboration. It's a place to show the ones that you are open to, right? Like if you are looking to be a speaker, you're looking to be a podcast guest. Like I like when people create a page of the people that they collaborate with or how they like to collaborate. I think that's a really, really good way to kind of use your website as that tool.
Yeah, so you brought up a great point about, sharing where you want to collaborate, who you want to collaborate with. Not only linking to the people that you've collaborated with, which helps Google and the search engine gods, but also having like that one pager that you send out to someone when you want to get on their podcast or you want to be a presenter at whatever they have. Being able to have a place on your website that could be public or it could be hidden, but you have that place on your website that you can share out and share that URL. So that's a great way to have that as well.
Yeah, and I bet we could think of like tons more examples, but your website is such for me, it's like a showcase of collaboration, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I love it too because all of the beautiful work that I've been able to do and showcasing all my clients, it's just I love having it all in one central location and being able to share it out with the world.
Yeah, and like just using like one last one. Thinking of like a person in the home trades, okay? Like a portfolio, having a portfolio of your work. You are a great example of this. I'm a great example of this, but having a portfolio of your work is also another way to highlight collaboration. So when you are a interior designer or a builder, you can highlight the other people in the project and you do that so well. And I do that with the projects I copyright for. I'll link back to the web designer, link back to the brand designer, right? Like it's just another way we can kind of it's also paying it forward, I think, which is really the one of the best things we can do for each other as small businesses.
Yeah. Paying it forward and it's good content too, right? Google
Mhm.
loves that good content and it's good quality content that's just supporting each other, talking about your collaborations, showing your work. So yeah, that's a great example. Okay. So that's collaboration. Shall we go on to cohesion?
Let's go on to cohesion and let's cohesively move on. So cohesion, when I think of cohesion, it really is a lot of what you do and then also translates throughout your messaging. So when you're looking at cohesion, it's am I showing up the same everywhere that I am online, but also in person? Like, I don't want somebody to go to my website and be like, oh, this is not who I thought this person was, you know? So you are really good about helping people to really get to the essence of their brand, what that really looks like, what it really feels like, and then how that shows up online, how it shows up visually, how it even shows up on a business card when they're out and about networking. And I'm really good about helping them with that cohesion in their brand messaging, right? So, like, let's make sure all of the messaging, all of the words are aligned to how you want to be showing up. Then I think it's up to the business owner a little bit from there. I mean, so like if you're bootstrapping it, if you're doing it all by yourself, then all of these things are up to you. But from there, I do think it's a little bit up to the business owner. So asking themselves, am I showing up cohesively everywhere I go? And I'll tell you what's so great about this. I think it's like almost better than the word authenticity because you can be authentic in a number. It's a little bit of an overused word and it's kind of lost its meaning. But like being cohesive means that people like your reputation kind of precedes you, right? Like people know that you are who you are and they know kind of what to expect everywhere that you're going. So I think it's a really it's powerful throughout your brand and it's like one of those little known marketing things that we're just not talking about. I mean, we talk about like the pretty stuff and the nice words, but we don't often talk about it like from an internal perspective, you know, like who am I inside and is that showing up with me everywhere that I'm marketing my business?
Okay, so Jenna Kutcher just released a podcast this morning about her brand overhaul. And it goes through her whole process. And she talks a lot about your brand personality and bringing the feeling of your brand throughout everything that you do. And I think that that is just so true. And like you just said, that cohesion, having that flow through everything that you do online as well as offline. And what is that feeling that your brand kind of evokes? And I think it's so important. I always talk about bringing your brand personality online, having words that reflect who you are, and having imagery, your visuals, your logo, your colors, and the design of the website to reflect who you are. But then, like you said, carrying it offline, does meeting you in person, like, does that match what your website shares about you? And my favorite client is the client that you meet in person and you get this sense of who they are and you go to their website and it's not like that. It's I wanna say, like, it's not exciting. It doesn't evoke these feelings, and that's the person I love working with, being able to create something online that really brings it out of them and it showcases who they are. And like I sometimes say I like working with the boring brands who don't wanna be boring, and the bookkeepers and the accountants and the consultants. Let's design something really beautiful that reflects your personality offline and so that you can have that cohesion throughout everything that you do.
I so agree with you. There's nothing more enjoyable than when somebody is willing to bring their personality to life on a website and really let you loose with it, you know, because that that is the only thing that really sets us apart from all the other quote unquote boring brands, from all the other people that do exactly what we do. Like there are other people who not only do what you do, but they do it in the same way that you do it. Now, they don't have your story and they don't have your expertise and your history and your background, but they're all doing the same thing. So, setting ourselves apart really comes with like standing up and being like this is who I am, you know, this is my personality and it also draws people to you that you really want to be working with, right? Like the people who they see something about your personality and it just really speaks to them or sparks something to life inside them. And they just know like you are the one for them. So that's why I love Cohesion. It has a lot of power and it does not get talked about nearly often enough as like a piece of your marketing pie.
Yeah, for sure. Your website and your brand is designed to attract those people that you wanna work with and detract those people that you don't wanna work with. That sometimes people forget or they're scared to do that. You wanna please everyone, but I think you need to be true to who you are and have that cohesion, and you will attract those people that you wanna work with and that wanna work with you, and it will make a beautiful collaborations in in the future.
Now we're setting you up for
That's awesome. Okay, and then the third is connection. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is deep, right? Now we're going deep. But connection, I like to think of it like this. No matter how you're marketing yourself, your website, social media, going out and meeting other people, it's all about making a bridge. So it's all about literally connecting who I am to who you are. And that is, I think, a little bit of a hard concept sometimes. I think we often think of marketing and visibility as like, oh, I just need to push my message out, right? But I love taking it back to, and we both do this when we're working on a website, like who are you? But also who are we speaking to? And getting so super clear on who that person is on the other side. Because when it speaks to them, that's when you make that connection. That's when you create that bridge with the other person. And it's a huge piece of your marketing, like the most fundamental piece of marketing, and I want more people to like wake up to just how important it is to make sure you're clear about speaking to the person on the other side. If you're open to being like super specific, I mean, the truth is, often we'll speak to different types of people, right? So, like, I may have a couple of different niches, or I may speak to one person that I work with in one way and another way. But if you're open to like applying specificity in various situations or even on your website, like I think there's a lot of power in that because people really do feel very seen and heard. They're like, oh, that is me. Like I see myself in that sentence, right? When we're just so specific on making that connection.
You do a beautiful job of doing that and helping your clients really understand who they're talking to and making sure that we are making those connections. And then when it flows through the website, understanding who they are and then what we want them to do, how we want them, and guiding their journey on taking the next step, whatever that action is for the website. And so making that connection is so important. And like you said, I've been one who has not been super specific about who I work with, that niching down. I don't like to niche down and be super hyper specific, but I do talk to a specific type of client that I want to work with. And I feel that when they read the words and see my website, they'll get that feeling and they'll know that I'm making the connection that way. But like you said, maybe, tailoring, and I do this, tailoring to who I'm speaking to in specific situations and making sure that I am connecting with them so that they do know that I can help them on their journey.
To your point of niching, and I think this is good because a lot of people are like, do I niche or do I not niche? I heard somebody recently bring it up as not niching, but pattern finding. So instead of niching and saying I work specifically with this type of person, because I don't either, but there is a pattern to the type of people I love to work with, right? Like I like to work with an entrepreneur or business owner who is really excited about what they do. And they're really like motivated and ambitious and they wanna make more of an impact in the world. So they're not just doing the thing to do the thing, but they're doing it to actually, like, create change in the lives of other people. So those are kinda like that's like my niche, if you will, or my pattern that I'm recognizing in people where it could be easy to just, like, slap up a label on there like, "I serve women entrepreneurs," or home trades, or whatever that may be. But I think it's inspiring and helpful to go, like, a level deeper and say, "Well, what are really, like, the characteristics of that person?" I think you speak to that person beautifully through your branding because the colors and the branding, like, that's all a part of it too, right? Like, that's all speaking to that personality on the other side.
Yeah, that's how your website comes into play because you're doing the words and you're doing that design, the colors, the photos, and how you place everything and to evoke that feeling of that person that you wanna work with. And I like that idea of a pattern of noticing who you wanna work with. I tend to work with people who want to be a little bit different and embrace that personality and are open and are excited for sharing their gifts out into the world. That's the type of person and client that I really love to work with.
I think I'm gonna snag that and add it, Jenny, to my pattern because I like that too.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, so that's connection. I wanna say connection made easy, but it's not easy. It's not always easy because I think and some of it sometimes comes from a place of, like, fear or, like, really needing this to work or needing our next client, and so we have to kinda rewind some of that sometimes and just be like, "Okay, take a moment, take a pause. Who am I speaking to? What am I saying? And am I speaking to them like it's one person on the other side of the screen?" Because every time somebody goes to visit your website, I mean, maybe they have their spouse, like, over their shoulder, like, looking at your website with you, but usually you're talking to one person at a time.
Yeah. Just being really clear on who you're talking with and making that connection and visuals in that realm, making sure that you're including images if you're the brand of you looking at your visitor,
Yes.
like that eye-to-eye connection. And I always say this on the contact page. Usually when you're on your website, you're driving people to that contact page to get in contact with you, to take the next step in your journey. Having a picture of you looking at them while they're there to invite them and make sure that they feel welcomed and take the next step with you. That's a great thing that you can add to your contact page if you don't have it, to make that connection with your visitors and to guide them on that next step.
I love that, and I don't have that, so taking this full circle, this is why collaboration is so awesome. Like, you literally learn something new in every single collaboration that you do, so everybody does.
Oh, that was awesome. That's fantastic. I think we just got it right there. We went full circle, we got the 3, and I think that this has been so helpful and wonderful sharing about just different ways that you can show up in your content and how it comes back to your website and everything that you can do to collaborate, to have cohesion and that connection with your potential client.
You got it. You got all 3 C's.
I did. Awesome.
A plus.
That's Thank you so much, Emily. Tell us a little bit, well, you can talk about your podcast, which if you're not already listening to, I highly suggest it. It really does go hand in hand with your website design. Emily talks about content and a little bit more about you and where we can find you if someone wants to learn more.
Thanks for the opportunity. I have 2 more C's for them. So the name of my podcast, since you're already listening to one, it's easy to hop over there and you're so right. They go hand in hand. And I talk about you a lot on my show. So the podcast is Content with Character. And my website, I think, is the best place to just find me wherever you like to hang out. And that's just emilyaborn.com. And thank
Oh,
you so much. This was a lot of fun.
yeah, thank you, Emily. I love collaborating with you at any point in time. And yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.